Today we are in beautiful Des Moines, Iowa, home of the Hawkeyes, Frodo Bagans, and birds that will not move out of your way when you're driving down the road. Somehow we found ourselves at another March for Life. This is not planned by us. I guess you could say it's providential. So we'll keep this one simple today. We're just gonna be asking a few questions. So you can't block an abortion facility. You heard about the people that are facing prison time, some serious prison time over violating the FACE Act? Seriously, that is not a joke. The first two that didn't move, I think the one's alive. I thought it was a fluke. And then every bird after that did the same thing. The birds here do not move. I don't know if this is where like the Hawkeyes come from, like these birds that just have no fear of death or what. This is no joke. I've got to apologize if I look like a piece of luggage that has been lost at the airport. It's because we had a late night last night getting into town. And right now it feels like we are walking through a very hot fishbowl. Who is humid? I don't know if you can feel it. It's humid. So one of the interesting questions that I personally struggle with, and that's something I'm going to ask people today, is how do you respond to people who will block abortion centers and not leave until they're arrested? Like, obviously, these are people that very much believe that there's murder going on. They believe their duty as Christians is to follow Christ, sacrifice themselves for the unborn. Obviously, most people don't do that. Most people aren't going to go away for 1 year, 11 years. So as we're kicking off our road trip to go interview some of the people that are going to be going to prison, I thought this would be a good opportunity to go to the March for Life and just see what pro-life people think about this. Have the rescuers who face prison sentences, do they know something we don't? Are they entering deeper into the mystery? Or are they just nuts? We'll see what people think. Sorry for, if you, I'm so sorry. Yeah, there's probably better ways of wording that. Oh man, that's dedication right there. So you actually got the stroller all the way up there?
Yeah, well actually we came in the other way. But then,
oh, right, but then everyone left this way.
yeah.
Yeah. Say, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? I promise I'm not some crazy woke person because I have a baby with me. Are you familiar with the people that are facing sentencing over the FACE Act?
Yes, actually.
What do you think about that?
We actually know Martin Cannon, who's the lawyer for one of them, is her grandfather, and so.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
we know all about
it's a
it.
family thing.
So yeah, we know all about it, and we're praying for them. So, yeah.
So one thing I always struggle with is like, obviously, if you truly believe that there's children being murdered in there, you know, I think if all of us saw like a toddler in the street and there's a car coming, we'd risk our lives to save the toddler. And yet, when you see that happening at like an abortion facility, how many people would actually stand in the way until they get arrested, face prison time up to 11 years for some of them? You know, do you think we've lost some of like that apostolic zeal like the first Christians had?
I think we could have lost some of it. I think that people are gathering more courage to stand up for what is right. I'm not at a point in my life where I could just be arrested and go to jail for 11 years. I know Lauren Handy is the one I'm most familiar with, and she knew that there were illegal abortions and partial birth abortions going on. And I think we need more people like her to be willing to risk a decade of their life to stop that from happening.
My experience with the birds in this state is that they will not move when you're driving a car. Is that true?
Unless they move into your way, that's pretty much true.
So there was two birds actually like directly in the road. And as I'm approaching, probably like 45 miles per hour, I'm thinking they're going to fly away because that's what they do in Minnesota. They didn't. So it's the last second I slam on the brakes. I think they got away. I think they did. Sometimes it's hard to tell with birds because they're so small. But yeah, I don't know if that was just like, and every bird on the way in is like the same thing.
I think that does happen to me a lot too, actually. Sometimes I'll be driving and I think I hit a bird, but you never really know until you check the grill after you get out of the car.
So we got in late last night. I'm thinking, how many birds did I kill on the way to the hotel? That's my main fear.
I think it's nuts. It's crazy. I think there's a double standard in the country as far as like what we choose to enforce, and even sometimes even make up. I feel like I know like some of the. I think one of those kids you're talking about, I'm pretty sure they were just inside praying and singing.
You can't do that, right? You can't do that.
Yeah. So apparently not, but I That's like I said, I wasn't there, but it sounds.
Would y'all, some of y'all at least be willing to go to the sidewalk?
A few, Corporal. And thank you for your professionalism.
Yes, sir.
And we agree, but today's not a protest. Today, little children are scheduled to be murdered. And so we're practicing the historic Christian.
But if you don't cooperate and go to jail, you're silenced at that point, and you have no further voice from the sidewalk. That's what I'm trying to get the point across.
Oh, I understand your point.
I love every one of you. I do. Because
Well, thank you.
I'm a man of Christ,
Okay.
and Christ would cooperate. I believe. I really.
I believe Jesus would actually save the children's lives
Well,
peacefully.
He has powers that we don't. I understand.
So he has called us to love our neighbors, and so we're here practicing the historic Christian doctrine of interposition,
Yes, sir.
placing ourselves in harm's way.
It kind of makes you wonder if they're doing like satanic chanting, if they would have given them a pass rather than like singing and praising God.
Well, there's actually satanic. Are you from Iowa?
So I'm not from Iowa. No, actually, this is my first time in Des Moines.
There was actually a satanic display in our capital around Christmas.
What?
Yeah, and some guy from before I even knew it was even up, there's a guy from Mississippi that drove up and chopped the head off it with a sword, and now he's actually facing prison time as well.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that
That's
was a deal.
That's tough. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, are you a Christian?
I am.
So sometimes I wonder, you look at like the first apostles, the first Christians going out in this hostile world, proclaiming the good news with, courage and boldness.
Right.
And I kind of wonder, have we lost some of that? Should we all be doing what those people facing prison time are doing?
Yes.
It's something I go back and forth on. I don't know if you've got any opinion on it.
I think that we kind of lost our way as a country, as Christians. I say American Christians, we kind of lost our way. But I do think through the COVID kind of craziness and the pandemic, I think there was kind of like a pruning of sorts. And I think you're kind of seeing a resurgence of maybe unashamed Christians and kind of like pruning. Just I think you're kind of weeding out some of the more people that are more willing to stand on truth are starting to become more bold, and hope that's what I'm doing. I try and share truth and pray for opportunities too.
I feel like our parents' generation, they were the generation of, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics.
Right.
So like that's kind of like the normal for us, and this is my self-defense for not having done more sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the current mood is changing, especially after COVID and all that stuff, that people want to just be more boldly who they are.
Yes. No, I agree. Yeah, I grew up in definitely like a more, like I say, a Christian quote unquote household where
It's like PC Christians, right?
Yeah, you're good. You're the good. Like I always call it the good person gospel. Like,
Yeah.
you do the right things and you do the good things and you go to heaven.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't much Jesus involved. At least that's what I believed. I think there's a good pastor when I was a kid there, but it just, I don't know, some of those lost in translation somewhere for me, and now I just feel like, it's time because all the, I guess whatever you want to call it, the woke culture, the pride religion, all that stuff is so in your face, and it's time to stand on truth, and it's time to,
Well, if not now, when?
bear your cross, or carry your cross, and sorry, I can't think of the verse, but
So you know what? If you want to get more involved, these two right here do like everything. The two in front of us. Talk to them. One thing that I found was kind of surprising at how effective it is, and also how it's like a bold witness, is going out to the sidewalks in front of like Planned Parenthood or whatever abortion center it is. Mm-hmm. Whether you're praying or holding a sign or actually doing sidewalk counseling, they actually do save babies. They actually save quite a few babies. So it could be something to think about. Yeah. And again, talk to these two right here. They will set you up.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, am I not? I hope I'm not overpromising. Okay, cool. Ooh, he's doing the backwards walk. Cinematic shot. To you. You look friendly. Can you hold the camera?
Yes.
All right, cool.
We're jumping the line.
I know we're jumping the line. We can keep walking at the same time.
Very good.
Can you walk backwards, Julia?
Oh.
With a baby?
Oh. Oh, with the
So,
baby?
so we have to bring the baby with because otherwise people
Of
are afraid that I'm
course.
some woke person.
Okay.
And also that's the best sign to bring with, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what brought you out here today? What was your big number one reason for coming out?
Love of life and, love of God.
Of babies.
Love of
I
babies.
work at Mercy Hospital.
Oh.
I've been there 18 years. I've been part of pro-life on both ends.
Forever.
Forever. And thank you for bringing your little boy. He's beautiful.
You know, so the other two are with Grandma and Grandpa right now. He's actually our best behaved kid.
Of course. You can strap him down.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think there's any hope with, trying to change your friends' minds or your family, heaven forbid, or is that just a lost cause?
It's tough. Even Jesus couldn't go back home.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
And I am willing to take all of you as my friends and family. And I do. My friends, my families, in God's hands.
Have you heard about the people most recently who are facing prison time over violating the FACE Act? What do you think about that?
That's a crime. That's an absolute crime. And they're put in jail for what is right, what is basic. Life is it's the number one thing in our whole life. If you don't have life, you don't need anything. So life is number one. And they forgot what that is.
With my grandmother, with my biological grandfather, was presented an option of either she stays with him or he leaves because he didn't want to have my mother. So it's the value of life has been passed down from generation to generation. And I was actually involved with Students for Life at Northwest Missouri State during college. And the fact that I'm able to work and do this as a full-time job to defend those who are in the same position that my mother could have been in is just the biggest thing that I could be doing for my life right now. My biological grandfather, who was my grandma's husband at the time, gave the ultimatum to my grandmother. Yeah.
So is it that she would have an abortion or not?
So yeah, if she didn't receive the abortion, he would leave her, and he did. And he did the same thing again to another woman, and he's now in his third or fourth marriage doing the same thing. So
had she listened, obviously her life would have gone much differently. You wouldn't be here right now.
correct. Yeah, absolutely. I say that's the biggest
So
travesty.
that's why you're pro-life.
That's
right?
I say absolutely.
Selfish. Pro-lifers are selfish. I'm sorry.
It's not even a selfish thing. I just had my first child, my son. He's going to be 3 months here coming up in a few weeks.
Congrats, and you're in the trenches right now. We'll pray for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd say he's great, and just the fact that I'm able to be here in the position to try to be a role model for him, just as my grandmother was, my mother was, my great grandparents were, to continue this cycle of life and to protect the lives of innocent born children.
It's not every person who would literally give their life in defense of the unborn, blocking an abortion center's entrance. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it takes great courage. I don't know how I would feel about that. So I have great admiration for people who can do that. I think it's so important. It's necessary for people to see how intense it is, because it's just it is a truth and it is so important. So to have people who stick up for it in a courageous way like that, and just a way that's this is what we believe in, this is how we're going to show it, to just really show it. I think it's awesome.
It is a very tricky situation, and we are told in the Bible to violate unjust laws, but at the same time, it's it doesn't just go their way, but it also goes towards our way as well. And so it makes it very difficult with these situations. We want the same protections for pregnancy resource centers. We want the same protection for family therapy centers as well. But it's very difficult that we want the same kind of treatment to violators that do this, but they're not. So we see the fire bombings that happen in Wisconsin at pregnancy resource centers, but there is no judgment coming from there at all. So it's the double standards that are out there in this country need to be upheld to both sides. If that's the sentence that they're going to sentence 80-year-old women to 11 years in prison, it's got to go both ways.
All right, so you can't see this. Let me turn this. Check this out. So we've got, I think these are the live action people over here talking to the camera. And I'm saying, you know what? I don't have my fancy cameras with today, and I don't care. I got a GoPro, and sometimes that's all you need. So yeah, this is actually really interesting. Almost overwhelmingly support for it, and almost an empathy with what they're doing, and a desire to want to do it. But you know, it's like I don't know what holds people back. I guess probably fear would be the number one thing. You know, nobody wants to be the lone person who goes to prison for 11 years. So I'm glancing over, and I swear, I think the live action people are doing way more takes than I am. So I got it the first time. They did like 20 takes over there. Until next time, be bold and courageous. Next stop is Michigan. Here we come.